Maroon, the 83-year-old billionaire recluse who owns the Ambassador Bridge, has never done a sit-down interview for television broadcast until now. Christy, to call this an exclusive doesn't really do it justice. Tonight, Matty Maroon will walk us through his history of the Ambassador Bridge. It's the story of impossible engineering feats, chance encounters, and big risks. But in the end, it's the story of a gas-pumping team that became one of the richest men in North America. Matty Maroon is the 83-year-old Baron of the Ambassador Bridge. His story is rarely told, his views rarely heard. Did you ever have any idea that you could actually own it, or that you would?
No. I pumped gasoline for my dad, and I swept out buses and stuff like that. God was good to me.
And the Maroons have remained modest. This building doesn't exactly look like it houses an empire or that it's the home base for one of America's richest men. But here, tucked away in suburban Detroit at a former school, the Maroon family owns and operates North America's busiest trade corridor. After World War II, Maroon went to work for his father's small trucking company. How many trucks did you have when you first started working in the business in earnest?
We probably had 7 good ones and 5 that weren't too good.
Maroon grew the company, buying warehouses and entire fleets. But there was a problem.
We were hauling a little bit of freight back and forth, and it would cost as much to cross the river, either to or from Windsor, as it would to drive from Windsor to Toronto and back.
Today's border delays are nothing compared to the 1950s, when trucks could sit idling on the Ambassador Bridge for days.
There were a lot of other problems related to the crossing, which enticed us to want to buy the bridge. There was also a relationship that my grandfather and my dad had with the bridge, in that they sold their home in 1927 or 26 or somewhere thereabouts to the bridge company in order for the bridge to be built.
In the 1920s, private investors funded and built the iconic Ambassador Bridge, buying up land in Windsor and Detroit to realize their dream. Just 2 years after construction started, the world's largest suspension bridge was open for business, and landowners who sold their homes to the bridge reaped profits.
That gave my dad enough money to move to the U.S. Met my mom, married my mom, and they had a bundle of joy, and that was me.
Years later, the Maroon family would redevelop their relationship with the border when Matty bought his first shares in the bridge.
So I bought a few more shares, but I never had a feeling like I could buy all the shares. And then separate companies tried to buy the bridge off the New York Stock Exchange by making a tender offer for all the shares. And but they failed. And then came along Warren Buffett, who didn't look like he was going to fail. And he made a tender offer for the shares, and then Canada really didn't want an American to own it. He came to us and he said, look, if you buy my shares, I don't want any more than what I'm paying for them. You will now have enough to control the bridge.
On a typical weekday, the Ambassador Bridge carries 10,000 commercial vehicles across its span. It's one of the busiest border crossings in North America and is responsible for more than a quarter of all North American trade. But it's also more than 80 years old, and it needs costly repairs. Repairs the Maroon family says can best be done with a second span. Over the next 4 days, we'll look at the arguments on both sides of the border and the debate over the need for a new crossing. Tomorrow, we'll shine a light on broken promises by the Canadian, U.S., and provincial governments, as well as by the Ambassador Bridge. And Christy, we have certainly not heard the last from Matty Maroon.